This is Taranis AcreForward, the ag industry's most thought-provoking podcast. Listen to interesting people as we go in-depth into the issues affecting crop advisors, growers, and farm communities, uncovering the truth about the ag business and using technology to prepare for the unforeseeable. Ready to explore the future? Let's dig in.
Welcome to the AcreForward Podcast. I'm your host, Madison Vaught. I am a field customer success rep for Ag Partners. I'm an embedded employee here in Hiawatha, Kansas, including other locations as well. Here at Ag Partners, I'm kind of in charge of helping the sales reps understand the field health insights and everything about Taranis. I'm pretty much their go-to girl, as they say. So I have here our director or digital ag director, Ethan Noll. And as I understand, Ethan, we're both K-Staters. So, I mean, who can go wrong with that? Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? I mean, history, family history. I mean, you're one of 6 children. That's a lot of kids.
Yeah. So, good Catholic family, I guess you could say. Family came from Germany, settled in Kansas, and my grandparents, and when they built Perry Lake, the lake covered up their farm. So their house is now beachfront property, but they got eminent domain. They had to move, and they moved to where we are now. So basically, I had to start the farm over. And then my dad, he moved when he was 7 when that happened. And then from there, we've continued farming. But there's been about 6 generations of our family that have farmed in Kansas. And I'm the 6th generation. So, but yeah, I'm one of 6 kids. I've got 4 brothers and a sister. We raised hogs and cattle growing up. And so my dad had plenty of labor for cutting weeds out of milo fields and moving pigs, cutting pigs, working pigs, and then doing the same for cattle. And so we stayed very busy. But, my parents never limited us to just, you're going to be a farmer when you grow up. They never did that. They were very open. And so all my siblings do a variety of things, from teaching to architecture to construction management to GIS experts and fiber optic cable. So we're kind of all over the place. We're all over the country. And I was just the one that decided to come back and farm.
Yes, it's very cool. So also going back to, your family and talking about you, what are some things you've been featured on, like 40 Under 40 and the Kansas radio? How's that like too?
Yeah, that was a really nice surprise, being on the Scoop, one of their 40 Under 40 list. I think, it just had a lot to do with what Ag Partners focus on technology, and I just happened to be the director of digital ag, and so I think I got recognized for that. But it's really a team thing, and we have a great team at Ag Partners, from our agronomists to the digital ag team, and I've got a great team of pilots and staff with me here, and so that the 40 Under 40, and some of the other podcasts that I've done is really around ag technology and what we do with drone scouting through Taranis, as well as drone applications with Rantizo. But we've really put a focus on being on that leading edge and using technology to build transparency and trust with our producers.
Yes. So did you expect to be, where you're at now, being a digital ag director? Did you expect to be here in the ag industry now that you grew up in it?
I did not. Raising hogs was kind of a turnoff. I didn't really want to be in agriculture. I did know I liked being outside. I knew I kind of liked working with my hands a little bit, but I also knew I was kind of analytical. And so I went to K-State. I started out in agronomy, but K-State has multiple options, and the option I actually went into was soil science. And I did soils judging at K-State, and I loved it. And so I worked for the NRCS for a couple of years in Wyoming. And what I learned from that was I still love soil science, but I also learned I like being around people. And in Wyoming, there aren't too many people. It's the second least populated state in the U.S., and it's only one of two states where the men outnumber the women. So my chances there weren't good. So I decided after 2 years that farming did have an appeal to me. That I still like the science. I could still do the soil science, but I could also kind of branch out a little more into other sides of agronomy.
So then what compelled you to pursue digital agronomy?
Well, with the NRCS, they actually wanted to make me a GIS expert before I left. And I came back to help farm, and I spent 5 years as an agronomist. And then my boss, I think he must have, both my bosses from the NRCS and Ag Partners must have seen something in me, probably the analytical side of myself, and thought that I would be a good fit with some of these GIS technologies. And so after 5 years, my boss kind of moved me in that direction. It really started out with what I was doing with Climate Field View and some of the analytical side there. And then with variable rate scripts through Field Analytics. And so I really built that up. I built up the operations side on the digital ag, which was Ag Sync at the beginning, and then transitioned to Field Analytics. And we really put a lot of focus on building that digital platform and making everything as transparent as possible, transparent to our agronomists, producers, and to our management staff, so that they really understood what was going on in the company. And I helped to transition the company that direction.
So, going from Wyoming, being an intern there, and then working at the NRCS, and then going to Ag Partners, what led you exactly to Ag Partners?
And really what it led me to Ag Partners was just the opportunity. I really moved back to help farm, but there wasn't enough on our farm for me to work full time. We're an 800-acre farm. Most of the farmers around us are 3,000 to 5,000 acres. But Ag Partners gave me that opportunity to be an agronomist, to kind of learn more about the science. It helped me become a better farmer, and then helped me, make a living wage as well, and all the benefits. But then I really found that I really loved the science. And it's really the reason I stayed with Ag Partners.
So then what makes Ag Partners unique to you?
I think it's their dedication to being on the leading edge. Our company went through a merger with another company about 5 years ago. But the Ag Partners that I started working for in the counties that we live in Kansas are very progressive. And because they're so progressive, they're a little more willing to let us try some things. And so, can I put this system in your combine or on your yield monitor so that I can see the data firsthand? Can I put it on your planner? Can we look at that stuff? And farmers are, if they trust you, are willing to try some things. And if they believe that you have their best interest in mind, they will let you try some things. And that's what has really been a benefit of working at Ag Partners, because our producers are progressive. Ag Partners is progressive because the producers are the owners, managers of our co-op. Ag Partners is very progressive as well. And so it's really been a nice thing being in the role that I'm in to try all those new things and try to expand and be on the leading edge in the digital ag territory.
So going back to Ag Partners and their core values, can you talk about what the core values are and how they help and, explain Ag Partners in general?
Mm-hmm. Our three core values are honesty, integrity, and trust. And transparency is a big part of that trust and honesty. Taranis has given us that opportunity to do that. But digital ag in general, when you collect all that yield data, yield doesn't lie. Taranis gives us what happened throughout the year to explain the yield. Sometimes it's to explain that, we know it's not this. Sometimes it's to pinpoint, yes, it was this. But it allows us to build that transparency with the producer, and it builds that transparency throughout the company, so that we know what everyone is doing. Not that we're trying to be the big government entity overseeing everyone. It's just so that one person can build off what another person has done. When we can combine all of our talents and all of our knowledge, that's where you can really make big gains. And so it's being able to combine the agronomist knowledge with the digital ag's ability to put the data together, and then send that up to the manager so that, hey, we need to invest in the see and spray technology. It starts from the bottom and works its way up. And digital ag is really the conduit to make that happen.
Yes. So going back to success, apart from the success that Taranis has done for Ag Partners, I know for me, when I go and I talk to growers, the big thing that they say their success with Taranis is stand count. By no means am I an agronomist. I grew up on a ranch with livestock, and being a K-Stater myself and going ag comm, I wasn't agronomy, but I learn a lot from all of you. Mm-hmm. So my big question for you, and I'm sure you can speak upon everybody else, is what is the success that you see with Ag Partners?
Really, the success with Ag Partners is through that transparency and trust with the grower. I think the grower knows that we always have their best interest in mind, and that we really try to build on that return on investment. It's not just about Ag Partners making money by selling products. Customers can usually see through that after a certain amount of time. But because we're using this technology to show them what's going on in their field, we have the evidence to back up what we're trying to sell them. And we do a lot of trials. And because we have the drones make it easy to do the trial through spraying through the drone. We can put the product just where we want it. We can watch it as it goes through the season with Taranis. We have another multispectral drone that we can kind of look at different imagery, and we can track these trials so that we can really explain to the grower what's going on. Sometimes a product doesn't perform that year, but it doesn't make it a bad product. It just means that the conditions weren't right. And so the technology really just it lays everything out nicely to explain the products, to show it works, where it works, when it works, to build on that honesty, integrity, and trust.
So what kind of technologies is Ag Partners using today that you think are successful, and what in general are you using for technologies?
So we use Field Analytics. They've really built up their platform to work really well with cooperatives. I think we use Taranis for our scouting, and we use Pix4D. I'll talk about that a little bit later. And then we also use DJI application drones, the Agris platform with T40s, T30s. And then we also use John Deere See and Spray. And so, we try to put all that together to build a platform that's transparent, but also very site specific, because I really think that's where it's going. With the Pix4D, our goal there is that we're branching outside of agriculture. We're finding that these technologies are not limited to just success in the agricultural field. And so, I've done some presentations with some environmental groups, the Kansas Natural Resources Conference, for example, and then like Women in Ag. And what I found is when they find out that, wow, we can scout and look at these things out there, and we can also pinpoint where we put the chemical with the drones, can you do this? And so I get that question a lot. And usually my first answer is, well, we have never done it before, but we can try. And so it's led me to doing stuff like spraying aquatic. It's like we spray a lot of duck ponds, duck marshes for phragmites, for lily pads, to clean those areas up. And ducks like open water. And so I've learned a lot about ducks and waterfowl because of this. And then in grasslands, there's a lot of problems with noxious weeds. And so we're finding that through the multispectral drone, putting that imagery on Pix4D, we can map out some of those areas where certain things are. So it's really doing what Taranis is doing on the crop ground, and we're using this other technology to help us on the grassland side, the non-agricultural things. And so we're just finding there's a big need. And so like just today, I had a guy come in. He's a forestry kind of guy, and he manages forests and grasslands for usually absentee landlords. And he just has an interest in, hey, can you spray Korean honeysuckle? It's a noxious weed that's taken over our forest grounds, and if we spray it at a certain time, we can control it, we think. So there's just a lot of different things out there that this technology is kind of taking us into. And so, we're even looking at golf courses, if we can do any kind of work there. So
yeah, so agriculture or not, we're there to help serve the customers.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess my next question is how are your advisors able to better advise your customers and give them the success that they need?
I think they're better able to advise because tools like Taranis and Field Analytics, it takes away some of the work of collecting the data. Anymore, a lot of these monitors will connect via cloud to the system, so we don't have to go out there and put a USB in. And so all these things give them a little more time to be in front of the customer. And really, the agronomy business and agriculture is about relationships. And I'm sure you've learned that yourself. If you can build that relationship with the customer, a relationship built on trust, honesty, and integrity, that's the best way to build a business. That's a strong business. It's a sticky business. If someone comes along with a cheaper product that's the same thing, that customer is more likely to stay with you because they have that trust with you. They're willing to pay a couple dollars more because they know you're going to take care of them and that they're going to see that return on investment just by working with you, not because they bought that product from you. It's not necessarily the product. It's all about who you're working with and what they're able to bring to the table. And we're able to bring that technology to the customers and be that trusted advisor.
So how do you bring that trust to the customer? How do you get your customer to trust you when it comes to ag partners and their core values? How does that affect the customer and the agronomist and both together?
That trust is really just built off the visibility of everything that's going on the farm, and any kind of event, whether it's a hail event or just Physoderma brown spot blows up, or tar spot blows up, we can really show them the extent that it is through our drone technology, and so they're able to come to us with any question, any need, and we seem to find a solution through that technology.
So adding on to that, you talk about hail damage and, you can show picture proof of, hey, this is what's going on so the farmers have some insurance that they can back up on that. So my question is how has digital ag changed over the years?
Yeah. So, it all started with GPS, having an ability to, geolocate anything and where it is on this earth is critical. That led to variable rate seeding. That led to variable rate fertilizer. That led to the drone technology, the drone scouting, the drone application. And so it all started with that. And then the drone technology really expanded in the last 5 years. And like the first drones that we had are really kind of like the Model T anymore. DJI doesn't even support them. They're just so out of date. And that was only 4 years ago that we bought those. And the ones that we bought right after that are all already almost out of date. So technology is moving fast, but it's all going towards building efficiency on the farm. And that's through site-specific applications. I believe, the consumer and the producer have one thing in common. They wanted us to use less stuff, less chemical, and the producer wants to do it because it saves them money. The consumer wants it because they're environmentally concerned about too much chemical. The producer can sometimes be that way too, and oftentimes they are. They're concerned. They want to pass their ground down to their children better off than they found it. But they trust that the chemicals aren't necessarily degrading their environment, but they want to use them right. But they also want to be efficient with their inputs, and this technology allows that to happen. And so moving forward, I think site-specific applications are going to be key to make that happen. And so tools like Taranis or multispectral imagery and Pix4D, and then the ability to execute on that is what's there. And so, John Deere See and Spray, Bosch and BASF and the grain seekers and all those tools are aiming for one thing, and that's more efficient and improved use through that technology. They want to put it just where it's needed and not have all that extra chemical out there. And that's honestly why I've grown the drone business into the aquatic and grasslands, because we can reduce that collateral damage in those areas when we're able to target just the stuff that needs sprayed. And so like the duck habitat, like we destroy less duck habitat by being able to control the weeds that we want to and not kill all the other stuff. In farming, it's reducing the amount of insecticide or fungicide sometimes. That may improve our soil health. That may improve our environmental impact. You're going to continue to see stuff, I think, from the EPA regarding like monarch butterflies and milkweed and those kinds of things. And so really to satisfy all these groups, being more efficient with our chemical and inputs is got to be key.
Yeah, like going back to what you had said about how, we always, as agronomists, you always want to give the grower what you can without a bunch of fees, without having to give them so much. With that being said, like you had said, agriculture or not, like the aquatics and then going to crops, like with Taranis and scouting, what is in it for the grower?
I mean, what's in it for the grower is just more efficient use of our inputs. When you look at how much they spend on inputs, I mean, they're spending six figures every year. And so any way to improve upon that is what's in it for the grower. So it's putting their money where it needs to be. Maybe it doesn't necessarily mean less dollars spent, but it's less dollars spent on this product, which means you can spend more on this product. It could be that you're spending less on herbicide, but you're putting that money towards like a foliar nutrient, because we know that a foliar nutrient in this place is going to benefit. And so that's right. I mean, Taranis helps with that because they're able to pinpoint where certain things are. And then having that application technology is critical to make that happen. So I'm a big believer in having, a 2-tank system on a ground rig, because then you can do one product over the whole field. Maybe that's a residual chemical. And then that side tank is your burn down chemical. You're putting it just where it's needed, whether it's through a script that you send to the machine or it's through their technology of seeing the weed and identifying it. But that's really where we're focused on putting products just where they're needed and being more efficient with those products. And that's really what's in it for the producer.
And then my last question for you, Ethan, is where do you see the future in 5 to 10 years? I mean, you have the aquatics going on, you have the drones just increasingly getting bigger and having more knowledge themselves. You have artificial intelligence. Where do you see everything going?
Well, artificial intelligence is a buzzword right now. But artificial intelligence is only as good as the data put into it. And so you're still needing that agronomist knowledge there, because if a sensor breaks down, you're going to be collecting bad data. If something else breaks down or there's a glitch, I've worked with a lot of different technologies. I haven't found a single one that hasn't had a glitch in it of some sort. And it's technology's updating. Your iPhone updates every 4 months. And so when that update happens, they find, well, that technology is no longer compatible with this technology. So there's a little bit of a glitch there. And so that's where AI is not necessarily the whole solution. It's just a tool in the tool bucket. And so you still need that agronomist to oversee that, to be like, oh, that's bad data. So therefore the results are not good either. And so I do think AI is going to change the analytical side, and because I can only think about 3 things at once, maybe my wife and raising kids maybe can think about 5 things at once, but still we're limited on how many variables we can put together to analyze things. And I think AI is going to be that solution and will change things, and I think that combined with sensor technology is going to help us really build on that efficiency, being able to really pinpoint how much nutrients we need, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, where we need it, when we need it, and then the chemicals where we need it, fungicide, insecticide. I think in the next 5 to 10 years, we're just going to really build on that efficiency of our inputs and applications through that artificial intelligence, through the sensor technology, and then being able to execute on that through the application technology that goes with it. I think that's really what we're going to see in the next 5 to 10 years.
Yes. Well, thank you, Ethan, for being one of our guests. I hope that our audience will go back and check this out at the AcreForward Podcast and all other major podcast platforms. I know I will be going back and looking at it, and I'm excited to see where Ag Partners will lead into the future.
Thank you.